It is said, the only thing we have to fear is fear himself. Unless, of course, your faith is in the Lord. Coming this fall, Bibleman will face his worst nightmare.
Hang on, Coach!
As he struggles to eliminate the fiendish works of Dr. Fear. The fiendish works of Dr. Fear, with special guest stars Matt Morganski and Daniel Spencer of the Superdome, plus Chris Padgett and Brad DeRocha of Scarecrow and Tin Men. The most action-packed adventure yet, as Bibleman teaches Dr. Fear 2 Timothy 1:7, that God has not given us a spirit of fear.
You know, it's too bad Miles has to miss all the fun.
Pull me up, man!
Bibleman, the fiendish works of Dr. Fear. This fall.
All right, there we go. Hey guys, this is Alex Ramsey. I have a very special guest today. Some of you may remember the Bibleman show, and some of you may also remember the amazing villain they had on there. I know him as Brian Lemmons. You may know him as El Furioso, Luxor Spondroff, like a number of names. But like he played a big impact in my childhood, and I'm sure he did with yours too. And I'm very pleased to talk with him today. How you doing, Brian?
Good, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on, man. It's very surreal talking to you right now because like it's I'm trying not to nerd out because honestly, like I watched videos of you when I was younger and like watched like the musical numbers and all that stuff that you guys used to do. Like it's very just it's kind of like an out of body experience I'm having right now.
Well, while I was dancing, I was having an out-of-body experience. So, hey, man, I appreciate that. That's it's always cool to kind of go back and kind of remember those years of doing those episodes and actually talking to somebody that was a child back then, and now all the people that I meet now that were fans, they're all in their 20s, and so you can have a pretty decent adult conversation now. Before I was talking to 7, 8-year-olds, so it was it's a lot different. It's a lot different now. So yeah, man, thanks for having me on, and you can relax.
Yeah, I'll try to. It's gonna be difficult, but like yeah, like it was I remember whenever I first got involved in it, it's just brief bit of history with me. I think I went to actually like a Christian school, and my mom showed me like one of the movies. My first one I think was like the fiendish works of Dr. Fear. And I kind of looked at it and I'm like, I've never seen something like this. And I'm just like, I was really into superheroes and Batman. I was like, why is Batman purple? And like, where's his ears and everything? Mom's like, no, like that's Bibleman. And I was like, oh. And I started watching it and I was like, I was hooked to it. Like I watched it. I think I wore out that VHS and then I'm like, oh, there are others before that. And I just started collecting them. Like my mom would take me to the Christian store and like we would just get more and more of those things. And actually on one of those, The Incredible Force of Joy, they had like a behind the scenes kind of thing with you talking in it. And it blew my mind because like you were talking just like a normal person, but just after seeing you just like acting and everything, it was very surreal just seeing you talk like, like normal voice, like normal guy, but like with this crazy makeup and everything on. Like I thought that was interesting. I instantly just got fascinated by it's like well these people are real and they have like these real lives and wonder how they got to where they are.
Yeah, well, it's funny because that experience you had, that's kind of what happened when we would tour the shows. We would always tour one of do a live show based on one of the episodes that we would release that year. And after the show, we would do meet and greets and sign autographs and take photos and stuff. And the kids couldn't separate me from the character to me the person, Brian the person. And so it was, some kids were hesitant and everything. But it's funny what actually what actually stood out with what you just said was VHSs. So that's pretty funny. You're old when the last major work you've done is on VHS. So
Yeah,
so
man.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's the main thing I'm interested in, though. Like, what was your life like leading up to that? Like, how'd you get involved?
Well, leading up to Bibleman, I guess I would have to go back to when I was 19. I was into dance. I was a dancer before I became an actor, much like a lot of other actors in Hollywood and different acting roles. A lot of those, famous celebrities, before they get into acting, they were dancers. And so I felt like I was kind of on that same path. I was really into hip hop and, Michael Jackson and all the new, hip hop rap artists that were coming out in the late 80s, which that's going to date me for sure. Your viewers and listeners. But when I was 19, I was teaching at a number of dance studios in Oklahoma, which was interesting because I was teaching hip hop and I was also teaching country line dancing, which was very very popular then. And so I just kind of made myself a very well-rounded sort of dancer. And one of the studios I was teaching at was approached by Carmen, the Christian singer Carmen. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. He was real big in the 90s, 80s and 90s. And he was looking for a choreographer to choreograph a line dance for his next video. And the studio I was teaching at, the owner was approached by Carmen, and I happened to be teaching there, and so he asked me if I wanted to be in the video. So I said, yeah, kind of a big, maybe it's my big shot, maybe it's my one shot. I could make it. Long story short, I made the video with Carmen, and the week we shot that video, that music video, he approached me and asked me if I wanted to try out for his tour, his touring show, Carmen's touring show, and I was like, yeah. And so I had like a week to get ready for this audition, and little did I know that there were hundreds of people that sent in their auditions through video, through VHS. VHS that's funny, it keeps coming up. And I walked into this audition the next morning. We shot all night long this music video. Back up here. We shot all night long, and that next morning, we shot till like 4 in the morning, and then I had to be at the dance studio at like 8 in the morning, so I got a few hours sleep, and then to audition for his tour. And out of the 30 people that were there, I got chosen to go on tour with Carmen. And from 1994 through 1997. I was a dancer for Carmen, and we played the biggest stadiums in those years. And while I was on tour with Carmen, that's when I ran into Willie Ames, which obviously was Bibleman. He got invited out. He was working for a company called Pamplin Entertainment, which was the entertainment company that produced Bibleman, and he came out for a few days, and I got to know him a little bit, and Pamplin Entertainment decided to put a Bibleman skit kind of to open Carmen's show. It was some deal that they made, and because Willie Ames couldn't come on tour with us full time, he asked a couple of dancers to to do the skit on stage before Carmen's show, kind of like a 5-minute fight scene opener, you know.
Oh wow.
And I was one of those people that they chose. They said, "Well, Brian, we want you to be the villain because you're real animated and we think you can pull it off and everything." So they got one of the other dancers played Bibleman on stage there for the tour, and I played the villain. And then we had a break. We actually had a break that summer. I think it was 1996. We had a break about 3 months, and Willie called me up and he said, "Hey, I'm doing some shows, some Bibleman shows, and I'm doing some in different cities and meet and greets. I'd like for you to come out and be the villain and do some short skits at bookstores and churches and stuff." So I did that over the summer, and we just developed a relationship, a good friendship, and I still had another half of a tour to do in 1996, and once that was over, Willie called me like in January. As soon as that tour was over, he said, "Hey, I want to hire you to come on full time, and I want you to play the villain, and we're going to do some big things. We're going to do episodes, and we're going to do tours, and I want you to come on board." And I really felt like, anyway, that was my last year really dancing, because I felt like I needed to move forward in my career. I felt like I couldn't dance forever, but I was going to take that dancing experience and move forward. And so the gradual, the natural progression was to move into acting, and I was always in acting classes at school and drama and stuff, so it was natural for me to go that direction. And once I went full time with Pamphlet Entertainment, and alongside Willie Ames, I mean, he sort of mentored me, and he probably doesn't really know this, but I learned so much from him being on the road, and being on set and being on stage with him. And I know he's not a huge star, but he really, he knows his stuff as far as producing and directing, and I got a lot of that from him. But he really taught me just sort of the right attitude to have and everything. So January of '97, I went on full time with him, and we worked together for 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you say like that you were done with dancing, because like I remember just in some of the episodes they just have these big like just like dance numbers and stuff like that, and them singing and everything. Like that's
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things that he really wanted, was that there was always going to be this gratuitous dance number. And he's like, we're always going to do a dance number in the episode, just as kind of a breakaway, from it. Just use that talent that I still had for that, which, that was another reason that he wanted me on board with that. But those were a lot of fun years, doing that, and I just took that dancing. I mean, that was the comfortable part of shooting the episodes, was the dancing part, because that was within my realm. I'd been doing that for so long, so that was somewhat the easy part. But it was a lot of fun doing those dance numbers. We actually made fun. It's actually not meant to be. We really poked fun at ourselves in those episodes. They were supposed to be campy. They were supposed to be making fun of ourselves in spandex.
yeah.
We didn't want to be too serious, because if we were too serious, it probably wouldn't have been as successful as it was.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's the vibe I got from it. Like as a kid, like I took mostly all of it seriously, like you tend to do when you're a kid. But then when I got older, I'm like, yeah, this is campy on purpose. Even with like the gratuitous dance number, I remember them calling it that in some of the episodes, which I thought was funny.
Right.
And
Right.
and just like the fourth wall breaks. I remember even like in one of the episodes, like you actually mentioned Carmen. I always like wondered about that because I didn't know about that before then. I was just like all these references to like Willie Ames's old shows and everything, and a bunch of other things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's something that's been done, for so many years. You look at Pixar, or you look at these other companies that produce the animated, movies for kids. I mean, they know that the parents are going to be taking the kids to the movies, and so they're going to have to sit through an hour and a half, 2 hours of kids stuff. And so we got to throw in the adult stuff in there. So that was the fun part about writing those shows, was that we could really play with the audience and play with the adult humor, and we knew that a lot of the adults would get a lot of the jokes in there.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to think of other things that I needed to ask you. Like, did you have any particular like favorite villain that you like to play, or any like movie or just experience on set that like was really memorable for you?
Well, the first one is always probably the most memorable. The first time you get to do that. The Shadow of Doubt was the first one, but that was really when I really came into my own, and I got way more direction there. I felt like it's funny I'm sitting here trying to talk about it in a serious way, but when you look at it, the Shadow of Doubt character was much different than the rest of the characters that I played. They're supposed to be. I was supposed to be the same guy, trying new tricks.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the whole thing. It's the same guy just trying new tricks. It's just like what we believe that Satan does. He's just the same guy, just trying new things on us, trying to trick us, right?
Yeah.
So the Shadow of Doubt was way more. The direction I got was way more Jim Carrey like. So I watched a lot of Jim Carrey movies and kind of watched his mannerisms and stuff, and so you'll see a lot of that in Shadow of Doubt. But after that, I was like, I really needed to find this character on my own, and so that's why sort of, especially you can tell by the laugh, because every villain has to have a laugh, right?
Yeah.
So the villain laugh, it evolved into the next two episodes, which were Dr. Fear mentioned and Fourth of Joy, and had way more fun with that because I could really feel like I could just branch off and it really make character what I felt that it should be, and so I really felt like it was much different. So that was kind of a learning experience, but it was also it was a really neat way to evolve the character. As far as a memorable time on set, I mean, there was a lot of different. We had so many, and we filmed the episodes. We usually do 2 episodes a year, and then we would tour one of those episodes. So we didn't have a lot of time to really shoot. That's why we didn't produce so many episodes, is because we would shoot 2 of them, and then we would get ready for a traveling show, which would take us to like 100 cities in a year. So we didn't have time to really shoot any, because we felt like the tour was really the thing that promoted it the most. We would be out on the road, but the times that we were on set, we would shoot always. We would film 2 at a time. So some days I would be Dr. Fear, and some days I would be
Master of Misery.
And then as it went on, I was El Furioso one day, and then Prince of Pride the other day. But as far as gosh, there were so many times on set that we would just lose it. It would just get out of hand. We would just start laughing, and then we couldn't get back into it. But and there were times when we was real serious and we were frustrated. People were frustrated. The crew was frustrated with me because I was wanting to do way too many takes, but I do remember Breaking the Bonds of Disobedience. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah.
It was one of the last ones that I did. The costumes, the part that goes around, my girth area.
Yeah.
it reminded we actually the crew and everybody we called it the diaper because the way that it attached was kind of like attaching a diaper, right?
Yeah.
And in the fight scene, the diaper kept falling off. So everyone would say, his diaper fell off. Oh, the diaper fell off. Cut. And then if it was loosening up and get ready to fall, I would stop. The fight scene, like my diaper's falling off. So it just became this thing where the diaper kept falling off. And so that was a real funny experience. The costumes never worked out. I mean, you watch the episodes and it seems like everything is seamless, but then those costumes were very cumbersome. Some of them, they got better as we went along, but they were definitely not very fun to move in. And I can't imagine, Christian Bale in, the Batsuit in the Dark Knight, series, or even going back to Michael Keaton when he was the first Batman. That suit, I remember them talking about how, well, this suit is for when he turns left, or this suit is when he turns right. And so I can't imagine just, what a nightmare that would be. I mean, this was probably cake compared to that, but still we had our issues. And really, a cool nugget about that, the original Ninja Turtles movies, in the 80s, the maker of those suits actually made our costumes.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty cool.
That's really cool.
We went to LA to get fitted for all of our costumes. They made molds of our bodies, and that's how they made the suits. And they had all the Ninja Turtle characters like full size in the creature shop, and so that was really cool.
That's really cool, especially I'm a big fan of those too. So like that's crazy hearing that like those two things, like both from my childhood, kind of like intersected for like a minute.
Right.
Which one would you say you more enjoyed? Was it like the live shows or just like the movies?
Well, boy, because live performance, you really, I would say, you get that crowd interaction. So that's much more gratifying to be in front of a large audience and getting that feedback. And because I was the one that got the boos every night. I mean, they would boo and they would boo, and I would get yelled at. Just the louder they got, the more I enjoyed it. So I would say that the live tour, the live shows, were probably more fun, more fun experience. The episodes, we had early call times. I had to be in 2 hours before everybody else because I was the one that got made up the most for makeup. So I was in the chair for 2 hours so they could color all the parts of my body that were exposed, different colors, and the grimy teeth stuff, my teeth. So that it just took a long time. So they were very long days because once you got in the chair, I was there for 2 hours, and then we would shoot for 10 hours. So I'd have 12 hours, and then makeup after to get all the makeup off, another hour or scene. So my days were really long, and especially when we would start going overnight, when we had night shoots, then our schedules would totally change. So we'd be shooting from 8 at night, until 8 the next day or 6 the next day, next morning. And we just had off schedule. So it really wasn't a lot of fun. It wasn't a lot of fun in a sense when you got into that. But yeah, I would say the live show, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, like that was one of the things I thought about was just like, because I was thinking about that. That was one of the other things. I'm just like, well, yeah, like he'd probably have to be there the longest next to like, I'm sure that Willie Ames with his suit, like it probably took him a while to get in his stuff too.
Yeah, and Willie was the director as well, so he had a lot of stuff on his mind in terms of he had to be the character, he had to be director. I know there are a lot of actors that do that. I mean, I know Ben Affleck does that a lot, and he's really good at it. Um, but I can't imagine it being um, easy. Uh, as I've moved into more producing and directing, I just flat out refuse not to be in my own stuff, just because I know, um, just to play those roles, it just takes a lot out of you. And he was always really tired, and when he would have to deal with the business side of it, during lunch, he'd be off in the corner on a cell phone, talking to the exec producers. It was very hard for him, I'm sure. But so he had a whole different set of responsibilities, and it really wore him down, because really he's the age that I am now. Well, what I mean was he was the age I am now doing it, so I can't imagine what it would be like.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's just like he basically, I know it started out kind of differently. Like, I know originally, like, it was more of a kids show. Like, it still is a kids show, but like it was more just focused on, like, they had like a gospel group that like sang or whatever. It's like a kids, and then like after that they kind of dropped that.
Yeah.
And did like they did your thing, and like your thing started out as just like a leotard, I guess, so you could move around more, and then after that it became more like mad scientist kind of based.
Yeah. It started out really bad. Um, and that's why they, Pamplin Entertainment, that's why they reached out to Willie, um, to come in and kind of take it over, because they felt like they needed to fix, they felt like they had something, but they felt like it wasn't, it was still pretty bad. And, the first ones he did, which predate my years with him, the ones with the singing groups and different things.
Yeah.
It wasn't as edgy, but there was, he had a vision for it to move in the direction of what it became in 2000, 2001. But the last couple that we did, he had a vision to get to that point. One, it was going to take, the audience to, buy into it, and people to notice it. And as people bought into it, noticed it, well, that meant, that's more revenue. That means we can spend more on the episode. That means we can spend more on the tour. That means we can spend more to make it all better, make the costumes better, make the graphics better. As we progressed, the sets got a lot cooler looking. So, yeah, they were pretty bad when they started out. I'm glad I wasn't part of that. When I started, they were just on the outside of that, and then they just got better after that, which, I really feel, honored to be a part of, because I felt like I was, had a hand in that, because as I was learning from Willie, I mean, I got to contribute. I mean, I was able to contribute with ideas, storylines, story ideas, full episode ideas. Dr.Fear was actually, we were on the road, and that was actually, Dr.Fear was kind of my idea in terms of character and sort of the child character, as well as the basketball player he was.
Yeah.
So I remember he played basketball. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, Kurt
really
played it. Yeah.
Right. So, and I really felt really good about that. I was able to. We were just on the road driving. We were coming up with these ideas, writing them down, and I really felt like that was cool. And then as it progressed, I wrote the last two live shows that went out on the road. I was the head writer on those, so I wrote those scripts for the live show. I'm not sure which live show you saw, but I'd like to think that they got better, and the sets got better, the graphics, the effects, the explosions, all that got better, as we went along.
Yeah. like that one of the things I was gonna ask is what like that was one of the big things I was gonna ask you is just how much creative control you had over the character. But like that's really cool that you actually got to like write some of the stuff and come up with some of the ideas. And like my first one was the one you actually came up with is also really cool. But yeah, like
Yeah, yeah, and even Dr. Fear, that was the first year that we shot 2 episodes at the same time. The Incredible Force of Joy, personally, I didn't feel that was a strong. We ended up touring with that one, and I I personally didn't feel that was the one we should have toured with. I thought we should have toured with the Dr. Fear synopsis and the Dr. Fear character because I felt like that kids really related to that more. That fear. We all, when we're children, we're all scared. We're scared of the dark. We're scared of whatever. We're just scared. And so
yeah,
fear is a big part of growing up. So I really thought that was the one. That was the one year touring. I really think we made a mistake. But I mean, it was still a successful tour. But I just didn't like that character as much because with Dr. Fear, the director. Well, Willie was supervising director that year. There was another director that they brought in as well, and I had sort of this walk, this sort of weird limp sort of thing, and so I really got into that character, and I liked the outfit. I like the costume, kind of the cyborg thing going around the back of my head.
yeah, with the little like
That was really cool.
little movements and everything too. Like you can hear like the gears moving and everything when his arms move and stuff.
Right. That was kind of the whole idea behind that was that, okay, this character has to kind of walk like this, and maybe he's like robotic in some way. And so, yeah, they, in post production, the audio, Wheeler Audio, I remember, they added those sounds in. And so when you get to see that, when you're doing it, you're doing it, you don't know what's going to happen in post, but the final product was really great.
Yeah. One of the biggest questions I had was like, I know at some point like your character like just wasn't in it, like they officially just like erased that character or like killed him off, but like definitely like before he had died and like come back, but this one was like permanent. Was there like any reason for that? And you just moved on or something?
Well, what I can say is that after in 2001, I remember that we had to shut the tour down that summer because there was some talk of Pamplin Entertainment selling to another company, and so the other company was going to take it over and was going to take over the Bibleman franchise. And I really don't know the ins and outs of what that deal was or why they wanted to sell because it was doing really well. But also at that time, I was kind of going through sort of a new I don't know, I was moving into a new realm of my life. I got married in 2000, and we were expecting our first child in 2001, and I was really struggling with touring that much because we were touring. I mean, it got to be over 100 cities a year. So I mean, you're talking 200 to 250 days out on the road. I mean, that's almost an entire year, and I just couldn't see having a family, starting a family and having to be gone that much. And really, I had been touring since 1994. So, or I'm sorry, 1994. And I'd just been on the road. I was just done. I'd just been everywhere, and so me and Willie had a lot of talks and everything. But long story short, my contract was up in 2001, and the company that was looking at purchasing Bibleman, I remember the CEO or exec producer of that company I'm sure it's okay to divulge the information. Now, it was Zondervan, which was, like the second largest publisher of Bible in the country. Zondervan Kids, the kids division. And actually, I think they ended up buying it, from what I remember. I remember that I got a call from the exec producer, and we had a long conversation, very open and honest. And I just said, I would love to still be involved in Bible Man. I still believe in it, but just the touring factor was really taking its toll. And again, starting a family, I just really felt like I needed to kind of move forward in that direction. I still want to be involved, but I don't think that they really wanted to hear that.
Yeah.
But I think we just kind of mutually agreed that it was time for me to move on, and maybe they needed to find somebody else, just because I just felt like, family's more important than a career. God comes first in my life, my family, and then my career. Sometimes your career gets in the way, but you really try to keep that separate from everything else. Yes, it's our job to work. It's our job to provide for our family, so we have to go to work. But when it starts to infringe upon time, when it's taking up 80% of your year, then it's time. It's fine when I was single, but I felt like I needed to move on at that point. So.
Well, there was
really,
yeah,
and I don't think there was really, there wasn't really an episode that really, I don't know, retired the character. I know I got a lot of letters. I would still see people, when I would go places, I would still run into some people that would recognize me, and which is amazing, because I really didn't think it had a huge following, but it had more following than I thought. But they would say, what happened, or I'd get a letter, here and there, what happened, and I'm sure Pamplin and Zondervan was getting kind of letters, what happened to Brian Lemmons, because there wasn't anything, really done as, to give it a finality, but I know that happens with a lot of TV shows. That happens with a lot of movies and things. So, I guess you just have to chalk that up to unfortunately, that's part of the business.
Yeah. Well, they were worse off whenever they lost you, man. Like, it just went downhill after that.
Well, that's what I noticed that, and that's what I kind of saw, and I really felt like, boy, it really was on its way up, and I don't know. I try to look back and try to. I don't regret my decision, but I do regret the fact that I wish I could have been involved in some way. But I think it was sort of all or nothing sort of thing with them. So.
Yeah, like it seems like like you said, like the tour thing was a big part of him, so that's probably part of the reason why they were kind of like, against you not doing the tours anymore.
Exactly. That was it. Because the tour was a big part of it, and that's what was explained to me. And I was just asking, not to get too personal with it, but I was just asking just for less dates. We were doing so many, it was just exhausting. And actually, in 1999, I threw. I mean, I was still young then, and I threw my back out in a show during a show, and we had to cancel like the next 2 weeks of shows because I went to the hospital, and I had to be in rehab for like 2 weeks just because of the toll that it took on my body. So yeah, that's pretty much that story.
Yeah. Do you still I know you said you kind of departed like from the show, but do you still keep in contact with any of the cast members or anything, or like is that part of your life very much just like over now?
Well, the last time I talked to Willie was 10 years ago. And then he moved to Europe. I know he lives in Europe now, and has went into a different career path. But I'm still very good friends with Mark Wayne, who played Coach.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the sidekick of Bibleman, Coach.
Yeah.
He and I are very good friends. We actually live in the same city. They actually live in Kansas City area, and our families are very close. My kids and his kids are like cousins, and so we try to get together every few months, and we, have dinner and just hang out at the house and just kind of, grill out, sit on the patio, hang out, watch the kids play. Um, so yeah, we're still really close, Mark and I.
That's cool. Like that was one of the other things I wondered about. Like, Mark ended up leaving after a while too, and they recast him with Brady Williams, I think his name is, who was Cypher.
Right, right. Yeah, I think the thing there was, I think Mark really wanted to not tour as much as well. Mark Wayne and I, we were both dancers with Carmen. That's where we actually met, and that's how Mark got the gig too. And we became friends then. And for a large portion of his life, he was touring, and he kind of felt the same way. But he had kids when we were on the road. He had 3 kids leading up to like 1998, something like that. And so he was just I think he was done. He felt he was done and needed to move on. That's why he moved on kind of early.
Yeah.
But there were no hard feelings or anything. I think he was just ready to move on. And then Brady was also a friend and a fellow dancer as well. And so, I reached out to him. Willie asked me to reach out to him to see if he'd be interested, and so he came out to see us, and he ended up getting that gig. And really, I think, Brady ended up continuing on, even with the new regime.
Yeah. Cause that's one of the things I noticed is that like he just kept like even I stopped following it after a while. Like they recast Bibleman. Is that like a new guy? I think it was a pastor or something like that. And then like I watched like an episode of it and I'm like, this isn't for me. This is for somebody else. And then like I kind of just like tuned out.
Yeah, and he probably got a little older and was like, okay, I'm getting older. I want to get into some other stuff, But Bibleman was in that age range between like 6 and 12.
Yeah.
So, once you got outside, and 13-year-old, but it was funny. It was really popular with like 16, 17-year-olds too. Like we would show up at festivals and we would do like an opener for like Audio Adrenaline or, some of these other groups out on these big festivals. And the teenagers just ate it up. I don't know if it was just it's just one of those things,
Yeah.
They loved it. They would wear the capes and stuff, and they would be jumping up and down and really get into it. So, kind of strange there, but yeah.
Like it's probably just like the campiness of the show. I know like certain things definitely appeal to you once you get older. Like I'd watch it with my sister, and I just enjoyed it on the level of just like how like you guys didn't really take anything seriously, and that was one of the great parts of this show. Like even I remember in the finished works of Dr. Fear, like you almost had like a Adam West Batman moment when Bibleman starts dancing around on the dance floor.
Yeah. A lot of those little jokes that you see, one in particular, where we did the paper rock scissors. We did a paper rock scissors like a sort of cutaway. It's like all this chaos was happening at the Bible cave, and then Bibleman and I were having a battle somewhere else, and you would cut to the Bible cave, and Brady's like trying, he's pulling his hair out. Cypher's pulling his hair out, and then you come back to us, and we're playing paper rock scissors, and we got a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Brady, and he's freaking out, and then you come back to us, and we're playing Go Fish with a bunch of cards on the table. Those types of things, we actually came up with those on set, and I remember the prop guy, we're like, hey, we need like 4 decks of cards. Do you have 4 decks of cards? He's like, no, but give me 20 minutes. And he ran to the store and got 4 decks of cards and came back. So yeah, we came up with those things. We're like, hey, what if we cut back and forth to Cypher freaking out at the Bible cave, and then we're battling, and then we're not battling. We're just kind of doing something else. One thing that I regret that we really wanted to do, I really, really wanted to do it was when we came out with the action figures, which is really cool, by the way. I can say that I'm an action figure.
Yeah.
I wanted to, as a character in my lair, I wanted to be at my desk, like, next to Lucy, and I wanted, like, Bibleman to surprise me as I was playing with action figures on the desk. I begged and begged for that scene, but it, like, never happened.
That would be
amazing.
amazing.
I wanted Ludacris to come in or somebody, or us playing with the thing, Bibleman interrupts the battle scene, with me on the, with two action figures, and doing the different voices, and, I know, and, that idea obviously came from Spaceballs. If there's any Spaceballs fans out there, there was a scene in Spaceballs, if you've ever seen that movie. So,
Yeah.
it was way before your time, so I'm not sure if you've seen it.
There was one moment I remember in particular that it was, I think, in The Prince of Pride, where you were like, they'd make a bunch of jokes and be like, oh, he went off script or something like that, like you just lost it in one of them, and like said, like, that's the most hysterical thing about this whole show, we never win, kind of thing.
That actually was not in the script. I just sort of went off on a tangent. I thought it was like a liberation of, getting sick of getting beat, and I just sort of just went off, man, and they kept it in, which was really cool.
Yeah. It definitely seems like it'd be like a really just like fun show to like work on. It seems like everybody's having fun. Even when like things get hard, it seems like everybody, like, it seems like a fun, light kind of show, like, that you'd have fun with.
Yeah. I mean, the crew, we had a pretty big crew, and we only saw them for that, those few months, those couple of months out of the year. But when we saw, there was a lot of collaboration and on set, and we got to know a lot of those guys that were on set, and it was a fun experience for sure.
Yeah. One of the other interesting things I've noticed, and like there's two things. One of them is how, like, I know they'd recast Ludacris a lot and just like change his character, I guess, based off whoever they had at the moment. But like, I just always thought that was interesting.
Ludacris was, man, how do you explain this? Well, yeah, I mean, basically it was every time it was time to cast or time to film, the Ludacris we had prior was not available. So it became this, it sort of became this running joke that the next episode is, well, the next two at least, are going to have a new Ludacris. And so I was the same, but my sidekick was different, and we made no beans about it not being the same person. We made sure that even in the episode we would mention it, that he was different. Are you taller now or something, or did you lose weight, or but oh my gosh, this was actually, you want to talk about wild, okay? When we filmed the last two episodes, which were Breaking the Bonds of Disobedience and The Temptation one, which I didn't feel that was our strongest one, by the way. That's why I probably can't remember the title. but we had an actor set to play my new villain, my new Ludacris, and then they got a gig, like a better gig. Can you imagine that, getting a better gig than Bibleman?
That's ridiculous.
No, actually, they got a part in a feature film that was shooting in the Portland, Oregon area. That's where we were at the time, in Portland. Shot the last two, and it was day one of shooting, and we were shooting a lot of my scenes first on day one, and we had no Ludacris. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're freaking out. Willie's freaking out. I mean, the crew's standing around. We're wondering if this thing's even going to happen. And there was a guy that was touring with us the last 2 years. He ran our lasers, our laser show. He was in charge of our lasers on the live show. And this guy, his name was Les, and he was this big guy, and he always wore Hawaiian shirts on the road. And Les walks by. Me and Willie are talking in the hallway. I'm already made up. I've already got my costume on. I'm made up. We're thinking, okay, let's shoot all of the scenes without Ludacris. So we had to, mix up the shot list. It was a real mess. I mean, I was stressed out. We were all stressed out. Me and Willie were in the hallway talking about it, and then Les walks by. He had this big, donut in his hand, and he's walking by, and I'm like, Willie, what about Les? And he just kind of looked at me like, oh my gosh, I think he could do it. Oh my gosh, that would be the funniest thing. And then we got to thinking about his personality and the way he was on tour. And this guy was a character, man. I'm telling you, this guy he was off. Part of him was off, but he was really fun. And he had this, like I said, this giant wardrobe of Hawaiian shirts. And we always made fun of his Hawaiian shirts. We were like, and we're like, what if he's Ludacris and he wears his Hawaiian shirt? I mean, it's just like, we just sat around and we're like, oh my gosh, this could work. And actually, I think he actually became the best Ludacris that we had. And it was probably the best decision. It was the best, mess up or whatever you want to call it that could happen. But it ended up being kind of a really brilliant thing, I think. I mean, I know it's just Bibleman we're talking about, but in a production process, if you've ever been a part of a production process and one of your co-stars just is not going to show up, you don't have anybody, it's going to halt production for a while until we find somebody. And that was really, really, it's like one of the best ideas ever, and it just happened to be right there in front of our face eating a donut.
That's great. The other thing I was gonna ask about is, like, I don't know how much you know about this, but like one of the things that always fascinated me about the show is that they had lightsabers, and I was just wondering if you guys ever got any legal issues with that, or like.
Oh yeah, with Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
No, now that you mention it, I can vaguely remember. I vaguely remember a conversation about this, that the lightsabers were not copywritten or not trademarked. I guess because there's been other weapons used in other movies that had lights on them, or electromagnetic things, different weapons. So I don't know if they were trademarkable, if that's even a word. But I seem to remember a conversation, which I wasn't a part of because I was just an actor and everything. But I remember hearing that story that the lightsabers were not trademarked, so we could do it.
That's crazy. Like, I wouldn't even think about that, but that makes sense now that, like, I think about that. Like, I was just like.
Yeah, good question though. Great question.
Nice. So like, do you have anything else to say about Bibleman? Or like, I was gonna move into like after Bibleman, like your life kind of after.
Yeah, right there is a great segue. I think that the experience with Bibleman really, it was a time of learning for me. because, as I said before, as I was a dancer, I knew I couldn't dance my whole life. So I needed to move into something else, which was acting. And then as I was in the midst of Bibleman and all that time spent with Willie, I learned kind of the business side and the producing side, writing and directing side. So I knew that once I was done with that, if there wasn't anything after Bibleman in terms of acting, if I didn't make it anywhere else, because I tell you something, man, it's hard to make it. It's hard to make it as an actor and become a star. I mean, I knew that if I didn't move to LA or New York, then I probably wasn't going to make it, unless, by some chance. Well, I guess YouTube came along too late, for me. Because, if we had YouTube back then, we had the internet, of course, but, if YouTube had come out, back then, we might be having a different conversation. But I knew I needed to move in to a role that was behind the camera and more of a producing role. And I guess that segues into kind of what I'm doing now is that after Bibleman, I actually went through a period where I couldn't get any production work. I directed a couple of live shows, plays, things, but I couldn't get anything steady. And at that time, we were kind of building our family, my wife and I, and we had our second child. And I had always wanted to go back to school because right after high school, like a year later, I was in college when I got the gig with Carmen, and I was not a good student. I'll tell you right now, I was not a good student, and I was an average student in high school. I don't know. I was more that creative. I was more into performing, and I really wasn't serious about school. And when I started college at 18, I didn't do well at all. And then I got my big break, and then fast forward all through Carmen and Bibleman, and then now I'm at a crossroads where I'm like, okay, maybe I should go back to school. I've always had desire to go back to school. I'm older. I'm wiser. I could probably do a lot better. And so I started school and just kind of working sort of a regular job, regular jobs here and there. Got some grants and scholarships because I was non-traditional student going back to school, and then I got a degree in film and media, and graduated the top 2% of my class. Pretty much graduated with honors.
Wow.
And then I started working for University of Missouri Kansas City as a video producer. They're doing a lot of student stuff for the marketing department at UMKC there. And after a couple of years of doing that, went freelance, and I was doing a lot of freelance stuff, commercials and things. And almost 5 years ago, I started with a different marketing company, which I work for now. And I'm a full-time video producer and editor, director, writer for them. And I've got another guy that works with me as well. And we have a small sound stage and edit suites and audio suites. And so I've produced about 500 videos in the last 5 years, and I also produce 2 radio shows. One that airs on Saturdays here in KC, and one that airs in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh wow.
In the financial field, in the financial industry. So, and I do a lot of freelance on the side as well, TV commercials and different things when I can. But also during that time that I was in school, I was also an actor, and I had and still have an agent. So while I was in school, I was trying to get those gigs, and I did some commercials. I did a National Geographic film called Sea Monsters.
Okay.
And it was released in theaters. I had a small part in that. Have a reenactment part in that, and a few years back, I played coincidentally a villain, but more kind of a serial killer role
Oh
for
wow.
a film here in town. It's supposed to be released this year, so and that was probably the most serious role that I've ever had because I really had to dive deep into that. Um, and that film is called Terminal, and I think it comes out this year. I think it's going to be released in some festivals. Um, so that was a really cool experience. About 20 minutes of screen time, which is cool. We'll see what comes out of that. But I have that acting bug every once in a while, and I want to do something serious. I go to dinner theater. My wife and I hit dinner theater sometimes, and I know a lot of actors in town because a lot of times I'll hire actors for some of my stuff, and I'll kind of get that acting bug. I'll talk to them like, I'd really love to do one of these live shows. These are great, and but I pretty much stick with behind the camera, editing, directing, writing. So that's where I'm at now. Obviously, I would love to be making movies, but when you live in the Midwest, you don't get those opportunities. Not to say I don't have some scripts stashed away, and maybe one day I'll get one funded, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I definitely I know what you're talking about. Maybe not with acting, but like the whole writing thing. Like I have like a writing bug where like I have to start writing or like making a video or something like that. Like I have the same kind of thing. Like I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, man, that's where I'm at now. I think I'd really love it. It'd be kind of surreal if one of these days they wanted to resurrect Bibleman and bring me back in. I would love to even be more on the producing side of it. And I don't know if I'd put it past myself if I would turn down a role in it either.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't mind that. Speaking of that, like just like resurrecting and stuff like that, have you really shown your kids those movies? Do they know about it? That kind of thing?
Yeah, they do. It's funny. They well, my 14-year-old, she'll tease me sometimes, but they actually, for a while, they were attending a private school, a private Christian school, and for a while, they were going and everything was fine. And then one day, as I was dropping them off at school, I was getting some looks and some whispers and things. And I know my daughter came back home and she goes, "Dad, my teacher wants to know if you'll come and, talk to the class." I'm like, "Why? Why do they want me to come and talk to the class?" Well, the teacher knows you were a Bibleman, and she wanted me to ask you. I'm like, "Oh my goodness." The teacher's asking my daughter if I could come and speak to the class. I'm like, "Oh boy." After a while, it kind of spread around, and it actually became, I feel bad about this, but I actually avoided going inside because, I don't know, it's still, I mean, I guess it was within like the 10-year mark, so it still wasn't that long, and I wasn't that far removed from it, so a lot more people remembered it. So it almost became sort of the thing where I kind of avoided it for a lot of people. Hopefully that wasn't a bad thing. But no, yes, I'm not sure where we were going with that question. What was the question?
Just like if they knew about it, if they like enjoyed it, they watched it, that kind of thing.
Oh, right, yeah. So the kids, I mean, they saw it, but they're like, "Nah, this is all right. This is all right. We'll watch Cars or one of these other Pixar movies. Kung Fu Panda. We'll watch these things." And now, obviously it's Marvel. So let's watch Iron Man. It's like it's fine, and they're really into Star Wars now because of The Force Awakens, and in which they've seen all the movies. I think my youngest son, he's 9. He really reminds me of me. He's very animated. he loves lightsabers. There's a kid in the neighborhood who actually constructs lightsabers. So my son has like 5 or 6 different lightsabers.
Wow.
That this kid has made him. Green one, a blue one, a red one, and then they've got Kylo Ren's lightsaber. And they go outside and they have battles outside, lightsabers. And actually, funny story. A couple weeks ago, I walked out. I just kind of had a drink in my hand, and I'm like, some kids play. And the neighbor kid who constructs them, he's like 14. He's like, hey, Mr. Lemmons, and he like tossed me a lightsaber. And I said, hey, you gotta be careful. I know my way around a lightsaber. You gotta be careful.
That's great.
And my son was like, and then my little son, it's so funny, he remembered. He was like, yeah, he was a Bibleman. He knows how to fight. And so, like, we had like a little battle, and he was like, whoa, we actually have brought in a professional swordsman from South Korea. Well, he's from South Korea. His name was Jun Lee. He was a master swordsman, and so we had a lot of training. I mean, the videos don't really. I don't think. I think if we shot the videos now, the episodes now, they would probably be a lot better in terms of filming them and cutting them together. Because I didn't really feel like they did it justice because we had a lot of experience with them. We trained all the time, so we could do a lot of different things with them. And I think it would have been a lot cooler had we kept going. And as filmmaking progressed and kind of better, I guess for lack of a better word, I think they would have gotten. I think we would have been able to showcase a lot of what we learned. But yeah, so the neighbor kids now know that Mr. Lemmons can wield a sword pretty well.
Well, man, it's been great talking to you. It's been just like a great, interesting experience, just like going into this stuff with you. It's very surreal, but also just like really cool. Hear someone from my childhood, just like hear like different things that went on, that kind of thing. It's been great. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, hey man, hey anytime. So what is your? Have you seen Captain America: Civil War yet? Did you go to any midnight screening last night, or you plan on going tonight?
I need to, man. I really I'm still into superheroes just as much as I used to be. But yeah, like you were talking about superheroes earlier and like reviving Bibleman, like this would be the time with this big superhero boom they got going on.
Yeah, it really took off, and and I'm a film nerd, so I mean, if you ever want to talk about films, and they can be superhero films, hey man, my line is open. If you want to talk Star Wars stuff, I would love to break down some of that stuff. I thoroughly enjoy those movies, and especially the new Star Wars. I'm a huge fan. Of course, I grew up. I went and saw the very first one that they ever made in the theater. So that if that's going to date me, that's fine.
That's a great movie, man. It's fine if it dates you.
Yeah, but Marvel is definitely doing it the right way. I mean, they definitely have a grandmaster plan of weaving in and out all the stories. They're really doing a brilliant job, and I think other franchises are going to follow suit. I mean, you've already seen DC try to do that, and so I think they're all going to go that direction. They just have done a great job, and the Marvel movies have been outstanding. There's really only been a couple that I haven't cared for, but Captain America is definitely way up there, my favorite in terms of the characters. So I'm anxious to see Civil War here in the next week.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to see it. Again, like big superhero guy, it's mostly what I cover on my channel anyway. So it's been great. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick though. It's great having you on, man. I'd definitely like to have you back at some point.